I'm Steve, and from now on, I'm approaching stuff differently. I'm opening some doors and some windows, and I'm going to let some air into my life. Not quite that much. Hate rapid change. Some years ago, I researched Australian fauna for a failed TV project, and I gained this knowledge about birds. Not enough to be a bird watcher, but I know more than the average person. The spotted pardalote, a small, pretty bird with white spots on a black crown, orange chest, chestnut-coloured rump. Similar to the striated, but the call is different. Spotted. Striated. Spotted. Striated. Spotted pardalote. Striated. Spotted pardalote. Striated. Spotted pardalote, common to the east coast of Australia, often found in excavations for swimming pools. They like to make nests in muddy embankments. You might say the spotted pardalote tracks the upwardly mobile or smothering parents who install pools to keep their children at home longer. So, I'm starting my own bird list because that's what birdwatchers do, aiming at 500, 600, something credible in the bird world. But to do that, I have to join a bird group. However, birdwatchers or twitchers, whatever they call themselves, they're mostly retired folks, nerdy, and the men wear their pants pulled up just below their nipples. I'm too young to be a Harry High Pants. Introducing Keith Branwood, birder, birdwatcher, or twitcher.
Well, a twitcher you very rarely find him at a club like this. He's a guy who is just really interested in seeing a new bird, whereas a bird watcher is a person who loves to see how the birds react. You can go out every week and look at birds and not get bored with them. You won't get many twitchers doing that. They only go when there's something special they can see. So that is the big difference between a twitcher and a bird watcher.
I'll really have to work at becoming a bird watcher.
The serious bird watcher is the one who keeps lists himself but doesn't go to the ends of the earth to get a special species. I mean, he likes to see them, but he's more moderate about it.
What are you, Keith?
I'm the middle guy.
A friend recently said to me, Steve, I could be upstairs, in the attic, lying naked on a bed, calling out, come up and have sex with me. And you wouldn't bother because you're too lazy to walk up the stairs. It's true. I do display a lack of everything when it comes to life. Would you call this a passion or an obsession for you?
Well, it's a passion, I'm afraid, because and probably an obsession too, because I've never, ever since I started bird watching, the only books which are the side of my bedside table are bloody bird books. Between the Financial Review and the bird books, that's my life, and bird books are a big part of it, yes.
Does bird watching stuff up the rest of your life?
Well, it doesn't stuff up mine, but it stuffs up a lot of other people because, you know, you'd be talking to somebody and you've got to warn them. You say, look, if I look away with my binoculars, I'm not ignoring, I can hear what you're saying, but I'm looking for a bird. Because if you see it, if you're a keen bird watcher, I was sat out there at the lawn today and this bird flew in the tree and you went, there's not a difference. And it was an oriole. You know, so if I'd have been talking, which I was actually, my wife was sat there, I mean, she's got used to it now, but other people think, ignorant person, you know, but that's how it gets you. You want to see these birds, you know, so that's why the binoculars are in the car all the time.
And I'm also entering what's affectionately known as the heart attack years. All the men on my father's side have hearties in their 60s. I'm 52, so if I want to do something new with my life, now's the time. I know all this sounds a little negative, but I have Russian heritage, and there are some Russians who see no point in the pursuit of happiness. So if you had a choice between going out to see some red goshawks or going to your wife's sister's 60th birthday party, what would you choose?
Goshawks every time, of course. I don't know if the wife would let me, though.
Friends say I appear lost, and I do live a rather dishevelled life. My car is covered in dings. I'm 2 years behind with tax. I dress like a hobo. I eat slouching on the lounge, and when you dine in the beaten position, food tends to fall on you. Most of my clothes have this oily stain around the chest area. I feel exhausted by everything. Something is missing. In Waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett has a character say, habit is a great deadener. As much as walking the dog, shopping, cooking, reading the newspaper in the sun, even looking forward to my first ablution. As much as these things fill in time, they're not enough anymore.
I had a house where I could sit on the toilet and look straight out over the Hawkesbury River, and of course I always had my binoculars with me then.
I was once passionate about performing and writing, but now I'd rather be dragged behind a car driven by skinheads. I often dream I'm a maitre d' who owns a small concern, spending my nights moving among the customers like a suburban Jesus, chatting, cracking jokes and drinking. But my father, who was in real estate, said, never go into hospitality. People lose money in that industry, and drinking can amplify the darker aspects of one's personality. Every Friday night, someone, somewhere, experiences the running of the inner demons. I don't need that. Do I really have the energy to engage in bird watching?
I don't know what it is, it's just something what gets me anyway. I just like to see birds. I mean, I can see white-winged choughs on my lawn every day, but I never get fed up of looking at them. I mean, you know, they're a comical bird, one of my favourite birds. So, yeah, it's just, I think it's a natural thing you have for birds. If you want to, you know, if you end up wanting to really know about birds, I mean, there's a lot of social bird watchers, but I'm a bit more than that. I really like to know what the birds are doing and where they are, and get great enjoyment in being able to find them and show them to other people.
Will bird watching give me some purpose? Will it distract me? Am I interested enough to stick with it? At the post office, paying a bill, I have an aim, i.e. to get to the counter, and that makes me feel good, albeit briefly. If you pause before moving on to the counter, it even affects the people behind you. For the record, my last gas bill was $171. The previous one, $110. So the cost of autumn for me is $61. But as Goethe said, commit, and the world conspires to assist you. So I'll need the right binoculars.
For anybody starting out, before you buy some expensive ones, I'd buy some, you know, say $200 or $300 ones.
What sort of binoculars have you got?
The Nikon 10x42s.
You got a scope?
I do indeed. It has power that's beyond what binoculars have. It goes up to 40 magnification, so it helps see the distant birds, particularly shorebirds.
That last voice you heard was Andrew Patrick. What sort of binoculars have you got?
I had Zeiss before then, which is still a good brand, but when I looked at Leicas and put them up to my eyes, it was so much easier, so I bought my Leicas.
I just thought of a great idea. You could invent a set of binoculars that have a field guide built into them.
You now can get binoculars that have electronic field guide actually attached to the binoculars.
Yeah, right. Somebody's already done that.
They cost the earth, but I'm sure in a few years' time they won't.
And to at least sound like a bird watcher, I'll need the best books.
In Australia, we're incredibly fortunate in that we've got a really good selection of reasonably priced field guides. We've got Pizzey, we've got Morecambe, we've got Slater, and we've got Simpson and Day.
I've already got some of those. If I'm not a bird watcher, at least I could look like a bird watcher.
Basically just subdued clothing.
Subdued clothing, what does that mean?
Well, you know, some of what doesn't stand out. I mean, a classic example, I went on up the Kimberleys not long ago, and this lady came along with her partner, and she had this lovely big white hat on. The guy who was the tour leader, he let it go for one day, and then the day after, he said, look, I'm telling you now, we can't go out anymore with that hat on. He said, the birds will fly away for miles if they see that. So she dropped it on the floor, and we all stood on it in the dust, and it was a brown hat then, and pretty good.
Do I need new people in my life? I hate being new at anything. Just like magpies, who often stay in the one place all their lives, territory is everything to a magpie. I too love familiarity. I love going to the same place for holidays every year because when I get there, I feel like a local. You reach a certain age, it's hard to start at the start. So if I'm attempting to get like 500 or 600 birds, what birds do you think are essential to have on a list of that magnitude? Andrew Patrick.
Well, you've got to start with all the common birds, of course, to start with. You start in your backyard, and they're the easier ones to get.
Well, tell me like the seagull. Why is the seagull so successfully, or the silver gull?
Well, it's omnivorous, so it'll eat all sorts of things and test them out and see whether they're edible. And, of course, they've adapted quite well to urban environments, and people feed them chips and so on. So that adaptability in their diet and their inquisitiveness has helped them.
But I need something to do on this grey and dismal afternoon, metaphorically speaking. So let's say for the record, I have Andrew Patrick, silver gull. I've got the spotted pardalote. I saw an Indian miner with a gammy foot attempting to get into the Automobile Club in Macquarie Street last Sunday. We all hate the Indian miner, small brown bird with a yellow beak, but one must admire the tenacity of this blow-in because clearly he he was not a member of that club. I saw an Australian raven trying to get a piece of bread off a busy road, but most people think ravens are crows. You can tell the difference because the bases of the body feathers of the crow are snowy white. Pick one up and find out. I've got the noisy miner, I've got rainbow lorikeet. A pigeon flew into my kitchen and attacked a half-eaten loaf of bread that I left out the other day. After I make Vegemite and toast, I always forget to put the bread away. Never eat a reward before you clean up, because work without reward is drudgery. I saw a red wattlebird steal insects out of a spider's web, then eat the spider. Red wattlebirds have little red side levers and sound like this. I've got the sulphur-crested cockatoo. 20 years ago, this dry inland friend of ours was rare in the city. Now I see 3 drink twice a day from the gutter on the roof across from my lounge. I suppose a lot has changed in 20 years. 20 years ago, an iPod was a self-centered dolphin. 20 years ago, I didn't have to pick up my undies with my toes. And I have the king parrot, mainly green bird with red underparts. The male has a bright red face, like a fat guy with a massive broken capillaries. I played the alarm call of the king parrot on a stereo at full volume at Bermagui. Every king parrot in the area flocked to check out this Godzilla of king parrots. These little anecdotes are certainly very impressive. And most birders have an epiphany bird. Tony Diamond.
29th of December 1959, I think it was. I was stood on the shingle beach with 2 or 3 other guys. I was 23 at the time, and it was bitterly, bitterly cold. The North Sea was out there, the salt marshes were behind us, and we were absolutely freezing. And I looked up to the west, and I saw this black speck in the sky, and it gradually came nearer and nearer, and it got larger and larger. And I suddenly realized that it was very, very large, and I shouted to the other guys to get their binoculars on it. And this bird flew right over our heads about 30, 50 feet up, and it was a white-tailed sea eagle, which was extinct in Britain at that time. And they've subsequently been reintroduced. And we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, you know. But it was a wonderful experience. I've never forgotten it.
I saw my epiphany bird while walking my dog along a cliff near the sea. It thermaled up from below like a slow-moving thought balloon. I thought it was an oversized seagull at first, but it was huge, with a yellow beak, black around the eyes, like 60s eyeliner. Of course, it turned out to be a wandering albatross. I know because I was so excited I rushed home and looked it up. I rarely show enthusiasm for anything, and that's why the wandering albatross is my epiphany bird. I'd forgotten what enthusiasm felt like. Now, it will take me years to even amass 400 sightings, let alone 600. And I have all this midlife baggage with commitment, inadequacy and apathy to deal with. So that's why I'm cheating and using other people's bird sightings.
I can see white-winged chuffs on my lawn every day, but I never get fed up of looking at them. I mean, you know, they're a comical bird, one of my favourite birds.
What the heck. I'm adding Keith Brownwood's white-winged chuffs. My Slater and Day says it's a large black bird with red eyes, down-curved beak, and according to Keith, very funny. Time will tell. So on Steve's definitive list of other people's bird sightings, I have 12 birds. Only 588 to go. Actually, 587. I've also got the Mensa of the bird world, the magpie. I was deeply touched one day in May, when some magpies came to play. I stared at them through curtains drawn while they played upon my lawn. The magpie is my favorite bird, a communal sense that's quite superb. Even when life's down the drain, everything it feels the same. You can depend upon your bird brain. Did you know that it's only the male magpies that attack? These books are really helpful. P.S. No guitars were harmed in the making of this program. To be continued.